In this video, we're going to spin one bat in 2 different ways. So let's get started. All right, so it's officially fall. It's happening. And maybe it's not quite where you're from, but here in northern Canada, it is definitely fall. There are leaves on the ground. It's happening. I'm just waiting for the weather to chill out a little bit and then it'll really feel cozy. So because it's fall, I have chosen this fall inspired color palette. And you know me, of course, I'm already like questioning the color palette, but let me just look here because I'm like, would it be better if this, ooh. Oh, I don't know now. Let's just go with the initial inspiration. Okay, so this is my color palette that I'm going to be using for this bat. Basically what I want to do today, I want to take one bat and spin it in more than one way so that we can really see how the color distributes itself throughout the skein of yarn, because I definitely know that spinning it differently, plying it differently is going to affect what that color does and how it looks. So let's just go ahead and get the bat started. I'm not gonna lie, I am really ready for fall. Even though I live in a place where we have winter for so many months, we have had a lot of pretty, like for us, pretty hot weather lately. And I just get to a point where I'm so over it. And I'm like, I just want to need a sweater. And you know, in 2 months from now, I'll be not at all feeling that way, but that's okay. All right, let's get the cameras focused and then we're gonna start the bat. So I'm going to be creating this bat in the same painterly way that I have been doing. It's my favorite and I just find that it makes for a really unique and beautiful bat. So I'm gonna go ahead and be kind of trying to disperse the colors as evenly as possible, but I'm also going to my scrap bin down here and I'm grabbing any of the colors that are going to be in my bat anyway and trying to find my little scrap pieces of the same colors, because I definitely try to use up my smaller pieces first before I kind of break into a larger piece, because it just feels like I'm getting to reuse these smaller pieces that otherwise are really only good for things like needle felting. So carding them up is another really great option. All right, let's get going making this bat. I definitely feel like it's giving fall, and in such a pretty way, like almost as if you're looking into the forest as the leaves are changing, and I'm absolutely loving that. So I'm just gonna keep going, spreading out these colors throughout. I'm already noticing that I think I'm enjoying trying to put the colors in a thinner piece versus some of these chunkier areas. Now, once it's off, is that really gonna make that big a difference? I don't know, but I do really like the idea of putting them on really thinly so that they're blending in a way that makes it really feel like you're looking into a forest where the colors are all starting to change. So I'm gonna keep going and see where we get to. Okay, here we are. Just thought I would give you a little bit of a slower moment of this, but I'm really, really liking it, and I'm proud of myself for using a little bit of restraint and only using 5 colors only. There's only 5 colors. I haven't added more. I had a brief moment where I was like, should I add some dark brown? And then I decided, no, you shouldn't, because we're going for kind of a fall leaf situation. And if dark brown is going to get added, it would get added when I weave this into something and like basically make it so that there are branches or something on top of the leaves or underneath the leaves, you know what I mean. So I have restrained myself from doing that. And I'm glad I have, because I think it's turning out really pretty, and I'm so interested to see what this is going to be like once it's actually spun. So I'm adding more and more layers of the colors. I keep going through them in the same order. And I don't know. I know that like a lot of people do their carding in more of a stripey way, but I've just really come to love this way. And so I keep doing it. And I feel like sometimes you just find something that works for you, and it's okay to just do that. Maybe it would be interesting to do a direct comparison between one of my more painterly bats and a more striped bat. So let me know in the comments below if that's something that would interest you, just to do a comparison with. Now, I will say that doing this more painterly way typically means, at least what I find, is that I find I don't get quite as much wool on the drum doing it this way, versus when you do it in a more stripey way, it's really a lot easier to add a lot of wool to the drum. So maybe there is something to be said about doing it that way versus the way that I'm doing it, but I don't know. Okay, I think this bat is done. I'm just going to try to like compress it a little bit more with my packer brush, and then we're gonna get it off of the drum. I didn't wanna do, actually, I think I did quite a lot, but I didn't wanna make this bat like too aggressively big because I'm kind of doing some experimenting today. But I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm probably gonna keep most of the bat for doing my classic coarse spun spiral plied yarn, and then I'll keep some of it for doing the other type of yarn that I want to do, which is just going to be like a 2-ply. So I'm going to grab my other brush. This one will help me get some of this excess off. And I mean, oh my gosh, look how pretty that is. Oh my gosh, this is so nice. Let me flip it over for you. I think I like this side the best. Oh my word. I love it. Oh my gosh, I love it so much. That is like the epitome of fall right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean up the drum carder, and then I will break out the spinning wheel. Basically what I need to decide is how much of the bat I want to save for doing my typical yarn, which is the coarse spun and spiral plied, which I absolutely am just so in love with. And then how much I want to save for doing like a plied yarn, because I basically just want to explore the difference, like how different those two yarns actually look. And then maybe we'll also do some coils. So I think then I'll probably only do about 1/3 plied. It's just gonna be kind of a little sample piece of it. But I think before I even decide which is going where, I'm gonna split this all up so that I can kind of mix the pieces up. And I typically do like to do that because I know that when I'm putting the colors on the drum, they're not going on necessarily super evenly. So this is a way that I can sort of maybe even it out a little bit more, at least mix it up so that it's slightly more even. These are a little bit skinnier. These are thicker. That's okay. I also have been really loving pre-drafting. Thank you to whoever reminded me that that's the word. I like to pre-draft the pieces. I find that it just makes it a little bit easier, a little bit smoother as I go. So I'm gonna go ahead and pre-draft all these pieces, and then I will go ahead and get started with the spinning. Okay, I'm gonna start with what will be just a plied yarn first, because honestly, it's the one that I don't love to do. And I've just really come to love my core spinning. I know that's not everyone's jam, but I happen to love it. It's also just, I'm a little bit out of practice, I'm not gonna lie to you, with the just regular plied yarn. And I am going to be doing just a small amount. So we'll see how this goes. Hopefully I don't just, you know, mess it up. Oh, it would help if I attached the tension band. So I'm just gonna loop this. Now I'm also not going to be trying to make this particular yarn super even either. I don't know. At least at this point in my spinning, I kind of like the unevenness, and maybe it's just because it just, in terms of weaving, I feel like it just looks better to not have it super even. Why? Okay. Clearly, I don't have it attached to my leader yarn well enough. See, I'm used to, when I do the spinning, the core spinning, I can actually just tie that yarn around here as well. So I think that's what I'm gonna do with this, is I'm literally just gonna take this. Actually, maybe I'll just fold it over a lot more and then pull this down. Will that work? Only one way to find out. I love how I said I was gonna spin it nice and thick, and then I proceeded not to do so at all. So it's quite thin. You know, more practice is needed to spin it differently. I'm just gonna go with it. Maybe I'll spin the other ply a little bit thicker, like really intentionally try to get that thicker. But in the meantime, I'm now grabbing the other piece, and I did not attach it the best, but you know, that's okay. So spinning this type of yarn, I do see the benefit to carding the wool together a little bit more evenly, like with the stripe method, simply because with the way that I've done it, the batt isn't as even. So there are spots where it's thicker and thinner, and it's harder to get a batt like that pretty even. So if you wanted a really even, more perfect yarn, I do think that the stripier method is probably better. And I'm almost done this piece, and then I'm gonna move on to the other pieces. So we'll grab a new spool, because again, I wanna ply these together. So I need 2 different spools of the yarn that we can then ply together after. So it's just a little bit. We're just doing a little sample. So I'm gonna take this spool off, grab another one, and then we'll keep going. Okay, so I have my next little bit of yarn spun. So I'm gonna take this off here. And now we get to ply them together. So I'm going to be putting these on my lazy Kates, as they are called. Why are they lazy? I don't know. My hardworking Kates. So these, these are my lazy Kates. I built my own because the Ashford ones were just not in my budget. So I decided to make my own, and they work well. Plus these are such humongous spools that, yeah, it does make the Ashford ones a little bit pricier. So we're gonna be making a teeny tiny little baby skein of yarn. I'm going to change the direction of my spinning wheel so that it's spinning in the Z direction. And then I'm going to take each of the plies, and I'm probably just gonna tie them onto my leader yarn. And here we go. I feel like this is turning out kind of funny. It's been a long time since I've made yarn like this, so please give me some grace on this, because this is just like not the way that I normally spin yarn, so it's a little funny. Okay, I'm not gonna lie to you, this is turning out a lot prettier than I thought it would. I thought it was gonna be very like candy stripey, but so far it's really not. But what I am finding is that like my spinning wheel really wants to pull the yarn in, but I have the tension turned like it's not doing anything. Like there's no additional tension on it, so I'm not sure. I'm sure someone out there is much smarter than me who can tell me why that is happening, but maybe I just need to not work so closely. Maybe I'm not letting it twist enough. So I have about the same amount on each. I have a little bit, probably about a yard extra, maybe even more on the other side. I'm gonna cut this one off. We're just gonna finish this up. And then I'm gonna go ahead and actually put a little knot in this end. So I clearly have some learning to do with spinning this way, especially on this wheel, because I will say that it felt a little bit different, maybe a lot different than it would on a manual spinning wheel, simply because on this one, you don't have a lot of adjustments in terms of the tension. So it's just something to get used to. So that was kind of an interesting discovery, but we're gonna take this off. I'm gonna do the core spinning, and I'm excited to look at how this turned out, because I think I might be pleasantly surprised that I actually like it more than I thought that I would. Because often what happens with this more plied yarn is it can look very candy stripe, which I'm just personally not that into. But I think because I plied it 2 different strands of the same mixture, it actually made for a much more interesting yarn than I anticipated. So I'm gonna put this in a skein, and I'm not gonna show you the finish until we do the other yarn. Okay, so once again for my core, I'm using Briggs & Little Heritage yarn. I really like it. It's 100% wool. It's made in Canada. I love it for this purpose. I also love weaving with it as well. But what I like about it is because it's a Canadian made, or it's a yarn made of Canadian wool. And Canadian wool, I don't know what the actual breeds are, to be fair. But I find that, I think it's just the fact that the sheep that we have in North America tend to have a rougher coat. And I assume that's just has to do with the fact that we live in a much colder climate. Whereas like merino sheep are gonna be in warmer places like Australia and South Africa and places like that. So because it's a rougher wool, it's also a rougher yarn. And the benefit of that is that it has a bit of grip to it, I find. And that grip comes in really handy for something like coarse spinning. So let's go ahead and coarse spin all of this, ply it up, and then we're gonna compare these yarns. Okay, so here's what it's looking like so far, and it is gorgeous. You know, it's so interesting that sometimes I pick color palettes and, well, most of them I love, but this one I literally just was like, I went to Pinterest and I searched fall color palette, and the first one that popped up, I was like, oh, I have basically all of these colors in wool, so I'm gonna go with that. And I'm loving this so much more than I thought that I even would. So maybe there really is something to like reducing the amount of colors that you use in a bat, because I don't know, this one is just, and I mean, let's be real, I'm really obsessed with fall colors. It just, they're the ones that speak to me the most, and I love this. I love it. Hey guys, I want to introduce you to Minna. This is Minna. Whoop. Okay, you done. This is a not great spot for kitties to be in, hey? Okay. So that was our sweet new kitty, Minna. Sadly, a little while ago, we lost our other cat. She was sick, unfortunately, and so we adopted little Minna, and we are so smitten with her. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. Okay, I'm finally on the last piece of wool, and then I can get this all plied together so we can see how it turned out. Okay, I finally made it through all the wool, thank goodness. For some reason, ever since I washed my hands, the core yarn was just like really sticking to my fingers in an annoying way. And I always wrap it around my finger so that it's a little bit, it's under some more tension, and it just was not working. So we need to pick a color to ply this with. So let's have a look-see. I have like a dark red, but I didn't really use red in this yarn. I wonder if maybe either beige or even this green would be a good option. So if I use the green, it won't really be contrasting very much. So I think I might be leaning towards this more tan color just to give it a little bit of lift and contrast. I do like sort of a pop of contrast when I make these yarns, because I do find that it just adds something. Okay, let's get this on the Lazy Kate. And I'm gonna go ahead and switch the direction of my spinning wheel before I forget. Oh, the yarn on that side. All right, let's go for it. Okay, how do we feel about the lighter color in there? That's my only concern. I think it still looks really good, but I feel like I could have done a darker color, but we're just gonna lean into it because I do think once it's woven, it does look good to have that tiny bit of contrast at least. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep going with this. And then at the very end, I might try doing some actual coils. I'm not very experienced with that. I don't know if it'll stay well, but we might try. So I'm thinking for this last little bit of yarn, I'm gonna try doing some coils, and then I can sort of have a separate small skein of that. Now, from my understanding, to do a coil, you kind of just do the spiral and then push it up. So I'm kind of, actually, maybe what I'll do here is a little bit of coiling and a little bit of spiral, because I'm a little bit worried that the coils are just going to unravel on me otherwise. So let's just see what that does. I really like how the coils look though. Okay, this is like a skinnier section, so let's do a really big coil. Okay, I'm coming toward the end. Ooh, the coils are kind of fun. So I'm just gonna go ahead and, what am I gonna do? I think I'm just gonna cut this. So I'll just finish this off. It's a little bit loose down here, so maybe I'll just end it there. Now I'm gonna cut off the excess, tie a knot in the end just so it doesn't immediately unravel. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and put these into skeins, and then we're gonna compare them all. All three of the yarns are done, so let's have a look at them all completed. First up, we have my classic core spun spiral plied. Absolutely love this. It seems to work in like every color palette. It's really beautiful. And then next up, we have the same thing, but I also added some coils. So we have these sections where I just kind of pushed those spirals together to create basically a more densely spiral plied area, and that's kind of what the coil is. So in this one, you're just not seeing that thread as much. You're getting these spots where you don't see it at all. And then last up, we have just a classic 2-ply, no core spinning, just 2-ply merino yarn. And I thought it would feel a lot more stripy than it does, and I think it's a beautiful option as well. Now, because of the color palette, they all have similar vibes, but I think they would each give a different weaving result. Let me know in the comments below which is your favorite of these yarns, and if you enjoyed this video, check out this one next.